Good evening on this wonderful Tuesday night. We had a wonderful day today. The weather was beautiful, almost like spring instead of winter. So welcome to Life in Focus on Tuesday night, 6 p.m. every Tuesday night. It's Tuesday Night Live, and we're glad to have you with us. So what you see is it asks you, what is your story? So if I told you what my story was, born into a wonderful home, I was totally unobservant in my life. I was oblivious to most things that transpired, and I got bored very easily, and I'm still that way somewhat because I love to read. I watch YouTube a lot, and I read 4 or 5 books at a time because I read a book for a while and I get bored with that, and I see something else that intrigues me. So I move on to a different book, and then I go back and forth, and that way I encompass a lot of information that flows through my brain. I have had some adversity in my life. I've had some great times in my life. I have a wonderful wife, wonderful children, wonderful grandchildren, wonderful great-grandchildren. So I've been abundantly blessed. I've had a lot of money sometimes, like Paul said in the Bible, and I've been broke, totally broke. So I've been on a roller coaster deal with most of my emotions and most of my life, and that's my story, okay? So let's go on. We know that I've been talking about Emotional Anonymous, which is an AA program. It's called EA, and we're going to start that the week of the 13th. I'm leaning toward a Friday night, a Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, Sunday afternoon, because Monday nights, Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, Thursday nights are all full for me. So I will do it on some of those nights. I've sent a lot of you text and asked you about if you were wanting to participate in this program. So I will be sending you a text when for 2 or 3 different times to see how each one of you, the available time that you may have to attend this. We're going to do it online. It'll be by Zoom. Zoom app is free. I have to pay for mine, but your Zoom app will be free, and you'll be able to interact. It will be like being in the same room, separate. As my lady that I married in 1963, we went to separate schools together, okay? So there's a lot of things that we can do together, but we're separate in a sense, okay? So be thinking about that, and we'll be getting on with that. So let's begin with our theme song tonight. It's sang by Lindsay Reeves, my granddaughter, and written and produced by
from my shoulders, shake the chains from my heart, let the crushed and silent voice within declare a new start. Song of renewal deep in my heart, sung in the daylight, sung in the dark. Troubles in this life weigh on my mind, but I live stronger, stronger to leave them behind. Living doesn't last forever. I wanna live while I'm here. Recovery is on the way. Breathing Life is now or never. Now or never.
Okay, we've been talking about the soul. We're talking about Adam and Eve in the garden. And we talked about that God made Adam with his own hands, created him in his own image. And like him, not only physically, if God has a physical presence or the way he looks, I don't know. Never seen him. But the Bible talks about him having arms and eyes and all those things. And we also know that then God breathed into Adam and he became a living soul. He became a being that was alive. And there's a debate about what his consciousness was before he ate of the tree. But I don't know anything about that. That's all conjecture. But anyway, that's the way he was. The first thing Adam saw was when he opened his eyes was God right there, because God had been giving him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Breathed into his nostrils, the Bible said, and Adam became a living soul. And then we know that God planted a garden and put him in there. Then Adam and Eve did what God told them not to and partook of the tree of good and evil, tree of knowledge. And as I said, according to Enoch, which is a book that's referenced in the New Testament, that it was a beautiful tree. It smelled wonderful. The fragrance of it just spread out everywhere. And the kingdom of Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon was compared to all the trees in the Garden of Eden. And his kingdom was. So we know there's a lot of reference to that. So what happened with Adam and Eve? How many of y'all, I know I like peace. I like to have peace around me. I like to have fun. I like resources. And I like beauty. We know that God created the earth, and when he planted the garden, that it said that a river flowed into the garden, which I think was from the kingdom of God or heaven, and then it split into 4 different rivers and flowed different places. Now, one of the rivers was named the Pison, another was Euphrates, another was, if I can remember them all, the Tigris, I think, not the Tigris, but anyway, there were 4 rivers. So I was thinking the Pison River was a river of resources. It had gold in it, it had sweet resin, it had onyx stones or precious stones down this river, this for picking. They could go down this river and have gold and sweet resin and perfume and all those type of things. I think another river was like rapids. How many's ever been on a river and did the rapids? I never have tried that, but a lot of people love to do it, and it's quite exciting from what I understand. I guess the most excitement I've done in that area is ride, what is it, the Big Ben at Six Flags, which is quite exciting and rough. And we know that I think one river was a peaceful river. If you went down it, it was total peace and serenity. And it just brought just peacefulness to your life. And I think another river was a river of beauty. When you went down this river, this is my opinion, it's not biblical. When you went down this river, it was stunning beauty. Beautiful trees, beautiful flowers, all kind of wonderful, beautiful birds and animals. And we know that animals are all kind of different shapes and sizes, and all kind of different animals that you can, if you've ever been to the zoo, you can see camels and bears and tigers, and I love tigers, don't you? and leopards and sheep and goats and cows, and I don't know whether there were any purple cows, but there were all kind of different cows and beautiful colors. There was a guy named Howard Conancer that pastored a Baptist church in uh, Dallas, Texas, years ago, back in the 70s, at the beginning of it was called Beverly Hills Baptist Church, and he died and had a near-death experience, and he said the colors that he saw while he was in the near-death experience, because he said he went to a place where it was beautiful, and he said the colors were so stunning that when he got back to earth into his body and regained consciousness, he said it was awful dull here, even the brightest colors. So God had all that for us. Then he created each one of our souls and whispered to it and what we were supposed to be, and sent our soul here, and we had a body birthed by our mother, okay, and with our soul. And when God breathed into Adam, his soul was full. It was large. It was full of God's breath. And when Adam did what he was told not to do, his soul shrunk. So when we were all sent here, our soul was large. It was full. It was joyous. And life, because of our parents, because of our choices, because of those different things, our soul shrunk. So as I've been saying, the theme of this is in John, 3 John, it's only one chapter, the second verse, where God says, may you prosper and be in health as your soul prospers. And I talked last week about Adam and Eve. Their soul, they knew no anxiety, they knew no fear, they did not know any emotional things that would cause them pain. They had none of that. There was no hate. There was no any of that in their lives. They were just totally content, and there was no stress in their lives. Which, I don't know about you, but I don't remember a day that I didn't have some stress in my life. Maybe you have experienced that. So let's talk about that tonight. Our soul. And I don't know how many of y'all have anxiety. I don't know how many of y'all have fear. I don't know how many of y'all have hate or anger or a multiplicity of emotions in your life. Sometimes we have more than one. But we all have those emotions at times. Some people have rage. Some people have murderous thoughts. And all those emotions that we have, and we sometimes attack others emotionally, verbally, and some people attack people physically, and they're violent. So, what causes those emotions? I know there was a young man in Bonham that for 6 years, from the time I believe he was 4 years old till he was around 10 or 11, he had 6 uncles that raped him every day for 6 years. And he was emotionally a wreck. I never met him, but they tell me he was emotionally a wreck, full of hate. So we see that all those things that happen to us. So my question to you tonight is this. Are you creating the reality that you are experiencing? That's what happened to Adam and Eve. Their reality was that they lived in a beautiful place, that God planted a garden for them. They had all these rivers they could explore. They had all the different types of food. All the animals was there with them. There was no violent animals. There was horses and all those things with them, and Adam named them all. So their reality was, and God came down every day, their reality was a life of joy and happiness and discovery. Every day I think they discovered something new. I don't know how far back you can remember into your childhood, but when we were children, I remember my children when they were small, from the time they were born, they discovered something new every day. They would be so excited about it. I remember Lindsay, my granddaughter, when she was 2 and 3 years old. She used to ride with me to town in the car, and we lived outside of town, and there were cows there, and every day she was excited to see the cows and the horses and different things, and she always saw something different and became totally excited about that. And that's the way Adam and Eve were, and that's the way we were. Read the story of a little 4-year-old on a plane, and he was going around talking to everybody. He was excited about life. He was enthusiastic. But a lot of us, because of our relationships and because of different things, we lose that freedom and that enthusiasm and that joy and that fellowship with other people. So Adam and Eve created the new reality that they lived in by partaking of the tree of knowledge that God told them not to. So most of us have created realities in our lives, some of them good, some of them not so good, by our choices that we have made, and then we begin to experience those realities that we have created. So if you become addicted, it destroys your mind, it destroys your body, it destroys your thoughts, it leads you off into nothingness, it destroys your relationships, it destroys everything about your life. But you created that by partaking of something that probably you were told not to do. Okay? As Adam and Eve were. But most of us, you're like me, I did a lot of things that my parents and people, preachers and other people told me, don't do this, or this will happen to you. So we see that we create the reality that we are experiencing. It can be good. It can be wonderful. I mean, ever fell in love? Okay? So, all the different things that we create in our lives, whether good, bad, happy, joyous, whatever they may be, then that is what we experience in our life. And sometimes it's like a dual thing. One guy said, and I love this, that life is like a railroad track. You know, railroad train has 2 tracks that goes down. He said one track is good and wonderful, the other track is bad and evil. So he said we experience both wonderful things and loving things and good things and evil and bad things at the same time. Well, I am so sorry. I did not know how fast this night would go. Okay? So I'm going to have to go. Time is up. So it's time to go again. I will see you next Tuesday at 6 p.m. to continue this exploring about our soul and learning how that we can get our soul to prosper and become reinflated so that we live a wonderful life, because he said if our soul prospers, we would prosper and be in health. So that is my desire for you. And God's desire for you is that you prosper and be in health.